With us now from LA is actor and activist Don Cheadle, known for his roles in Crash, Hotel Rwanda, and Oceans 12 and 13. When he's not busy shooting movies, he is traveling the world on behalf of the UN as a goodwill ambassador for the environment. Don Cheadle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I want to get your take on this Prop 23 because you live in California, the clean energy leader of the nation. What's your sense of the impact if this passes?
Well, I think it's probably a bit of what both sides are arguing. Is it a bit of a job creator? Yes, for those who are finding ways to make their way in the green economy and are looking for ways to forge those jobs in the future and find a way for sustainability in those markets. And it may be a bit of a job destroyer for those who are ensconced in oil production and those interests. And I can understand the arguments on both sides, but the question really, in my mind, is about sustainability. I mean, we know that there is a finite amount of fossil fuels, and we know that if we continue to be in this sort of cycle of consumption and waste that we're in, that we're doing real detriment to our ecosystems, and we're doing real ultimate detriment to future generations. So it's about when are we going to make this jump. It's not about are we going to make it. This jump will be made. This leap will be made. Do you want to be ahead of the curve and be forward thinking and try to put policies and practices in place that will sustain you over the long run, or do you want to take the short money? So I guess that's really what we're looking at.
Okay, on to your work with the UN is you have visited different communities across Africa. Have you seen what you consider a solid evidence of climate change, and how are people coping there?
You see the heat rising in places, you see the water table being affected, you see the aquifers being affected, you see the proliferation of waste and the effects of deforestation in certain communities and erosion. So I clearly see the effects, and people are trying to get their hands around what to do. And these things are obviously always going to be more detrimental to people who are living at or below the poverty line. And that's a vast majority of the world when you travel around to these underdeveloped nations.
Right, so if that's where these effects are most starkly felt, how do we get Americans to pay attention to these areas?
Well, I think the important thing is to support the leadership that is already working toward rectifying these situations globally. And that has to be a top-down strategy, but it also has to be a bottom-up strategy. And a lot of the activism that we do for Darfur and the things that we're working on in the Congo, it's often difficult for the people that are in the halls of power to stand out on these issues that may seem to be somewhat controversial for them in regard that they don't have anywhere that they can point to a political upside to doing it. It's hard for them to stand out on these issues if they don't have the support of the constituents behind them. So we have to ask Americans to raise their voices, and that's done by voting, that's done by organizing, that's done by educating themselves and coming together around an issue. And I think the similar thing has to happen with climate change. We have to see that you educate yourself and you study the numbers and you can believe the science. Then you have to look at yourself and look at your community and your spheres of influence and see where you can get involved at a grassroots level in this problem and force the leadership to do what you want them to do.
All right, well, best of luck with your work with the UN. Don Cheadle, thanks so much.
Thank you.